Hi there, I'm Jim Bradley. I'm the author of a blog called Under the Castor Oil Tree. And this is my uh, video blog. And I really appreciate Link as the person who does it for me. And I'm going to read you some of my blogs from last week. Um, and I warn anyone who may be a Trump supporter, but I'm pretty hard on him in some of these blogs. And it's my opinion and mine only. So take caution, but I hope you enjoy some of what I'm going to share with you. The first one is from last Sunday. It's called Why on Earth Would He Do That? The president is in Walter Reed. At least a dozen of his closest allies are infected with COVID. Yet today, he left the hospital to be driven up and down the street to wave through the window to his supporters. His driver and passenger had on gowns as well as the best masks, but he put them at risk, all for a photo shoot, just like clearing peaceful protesters and some members of the Episcopal Church to get a photo op holding a Bible like he wasn't sure what it was. It's all about him. It's not about those around him, not about innocent protesters, not about his driver, not about you and me. It's all about him. That's why on earth he would do it, because it's about him and him alone. The next one is pretty long, so I apologize for that. It's a sermon that I gave several years ago. And because of the times we're in, I think it's something we need to hear again. I posted this on Monday, October the 5th. It's called Who Do You Say That I Am? Who do you say that I am? Today we find ourselves in the city of Caesarea Philippi. Just a short aside about Caesarea Philippi, because it is a fascinating place. It is north of the Sea of Galilee, near what is now the border between Israel and Lebanon. Prior to being named Caesarea Philippi by the Tetrarch of Galilee, Herod Philip, to honor Caesar Augustus and O himself, the city was known as Banis in Hebrew and Panis in Greek. It was the site of a shrine to Pan, the god of mirth and drink and debauchery. God bless him. But it didn't stop there. There were shrines to Persian gods and Roman gods and to Caesar, who was worshipped as a god, and even shrines to the pre-Greek gods of that region. Caesarea Philippi was a veritable panoply of worship and sacrifice. And besides all that, the water that flows through Banis from Mount Hermon is the headwaters of the River Jordan. So it's a terribly holy place for Jews as well. So in this remarkably holy and sacred place, Jesus asked his disciples, who do you say that I am? I want to go on record that that is one of the most audacious, outrageous, daring, and vulnerable questions anyone can ask. Who in their right mind would ask it? What rational person would want to know the answer when it came? Think about it for a moment. Who do you say that I am? Is this something you really, truly, honestly want to know? From an acquaintance, from a close friend, even from someone who loves you? Do you really, truly, honestly want to know who they say you are? Let me talk about me for a moment. I'm not sure I want to risk the pain and disappointment and confusion of hearing who someone else says I am would cause me. Two examples, if I might. First of all, I've had any number of people who have come to know me and love me tell me that when they first met me, they thought I was arrogant. That's the word they used, arrogant. Who do you say that I am? I could have asked them when they didn't know me well. You are very arrogant, they would have answered. Of all the things I think about myself, about who I am, about the last thing would be arrogant. I'm always using so much energy trying to please people and make them like me and show them how honorable I am that I would never imagine they would think I was arrogant. I spent hours and hours trying to understand why people would think that's who I am. And I would be bereft, deeply pained, stung to the core. It's a very risky question to ask. Who do you say that I am? Who would want to know? Who has enough confidence to hear the response? Secondly, I know myself better than anyone knows me. I know all my dark and secret places, all my aching places, all my shame and fear and brokenness. Why would I ask someone, who do you say that I am? For fear of hearing the truth about what I know about me. My greatest fear is that someone will figure me out and know what a phony, what a fake, what a hypocrite, what a sham I am. So why would I ever ask someone, who do you say that I am? Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a Christian murdered by the Nazis at the end of World War II. One of his books was Letters and Papers from Prison and contained this poem. Listen carefully. Listen. Who am I? Who am I? They often tell me I step from my cell's confinement calmly, cheerfully, firmly, like a squire from his country home. Who am I? They often tell me I used to speak to my wardens freely and friendly and clearly, as though they were mine to command. Who am I? They also tell me I bore the days of misfortune equally, smilingly, profoundly, like one accustomed to win. Am I really all that which other men tell me? Or am I only what I myself know of myself? Restless and longing and sick, like a bird in a cage, struggling for breath, as though hands were compressing my throat, yearning for colors, for flowers, for the voices of birds, thirsting for words of kindness, for neighborliness, tossing in expectation of great events, powerlessly trembling for friends at an infinite distance, weary and empty at praying, at thinking, at making, faint and ready to say farewell to it all. Who am I, this or the other? Am I one person today and tomorrow another? Am I both at once, a hypocrite before others and before myself, a contemptible, woebegone weakling? Or is something within me still like a beaten army, fleeing in disdain from victory already achieved? Who am I? They mock me, these lonely questions of mine. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God, I am thine. I had a friend who was a priest with me in West Virginia for 5 years. He was a great guy, very funny, but he always ran himself down about his problems and shortcomings. We went our different ways. I went to Connecticut and he went west. Then a dozen or so years later, he was elected bishop. I went to his consecration, hearing what people said about him in the reception. When I talked to him, I said, "Don't ever run yourself down again. I hear what these people said about who you are." So maybe who people say we are can challenge us to live into their words. There are many opinions about who Jesus was, but Peter nailed it. You are the Messiah. Jesus told him, and you are the rock, Petros in Greek, on which I will build my church. Then he told them to tell no one who he was. There are many voices, both inside our heads and from those around us, that have opinions about who you and I are. But Bonhoeffer nailed it. Whoever we are, we belong to God. We are God's beloved children. And what we need to do with that is to live in the world as the hands and hearts and voices and actions of Jesus. We are to be Christ's body to this darkling world. We have to. We just have to. We must. We must. We must. This next one is called It's Getting Darker Every Day. It's getting darker every day. I don't mean it's autumn and there's less daylight each day from now until late in the year. What I mean is what's going on in the country and with the president. Well, over a dozen folks have been infected with the virus in and around the White House. And yet the president, still infected, came back from Walter Reed Hospital and stood on the balcony and took off his mask before entering the residence. Then today he canceled the negotiations over another pandemic support bill. And the stock market, one of his things that he has going for him, plummeted. He also tweeted that the virus shouldn't be feared and hinted, as in the past, that it's no worse than the flu. Even though we know he said on tape to Bob Woodward 6 months ago that it's worse than the worst flu. The only light in the darkness is that every day Biden pulls further ahead in the polls. I can't wait until the Harris-Pence debate tomorrow night. That will put more light on the debacle this administration has become. The next one is the vice presidential debate. Fact checkers found that both Harris and Pence got some numbers wrong, and both evaded questions. But the biggest lie of the night was Pence saying that he and the president did not lie about the pandemic to the American people. We know they did. He also lied that Trump stopped all trips to China early on. Thousands of people avoided that shutdown and came home from China. And never mind, the virus in New York came from people arriving from Europe. A pretty even debate, except that Pence constantly ignored the time limits on answers. even when the moderator said over and over again, "Your time is up." Not nearly as chaotic as the first presidential debate, but the vice president did exceed the rules of the debate. Now the president won't agree to a virtual town hall next week, even though he has COVID, and in fact claims he'll start doing in-person rallies. Alas and alack, nothing has changed. I've already voted, taking my absentee ballot down to the town hall and putting it in a ballot box. Vote as soon as you can and vote for Joe. This is from Friday, October the 9th. It's called Alas, Poor Whitey. Whitey Ford died today at 91. If you're not a baseball fan, I'll explain who he was. He was a left-handed pitcher for the Yankees in the 50s and early 60s, when they won almost every World Series. He was best friends with Mickey Mantle. Ford, a fast-talking New Yorker, and Mantle, a shy boy from Oklahoma. Whitey is in the Hall of Fame. His catcher was Yogi Berra, another Hall of Fame member. He was not a power pitcher, but relied on craftiness on the mound. His nickname with the Yankees was Chairman of the Board. Since irony abounds, he died while watching Game 4 of the Yankees-Rays series. My childhood was taken up by the Yankees and Whitey when he was pitching. Rest in peace, Chairman of the Board. And this last thing is something I have not posted yet. I intend to post it tonight. So you on video get a head start on the people who read my blog. It's a poem I wrote some, I don't know, 14 years ago maybe. It's called My Difficulty with Finitude. I try from time to time, usually late at night, or after one too many glasses of wine, to consider my mortality. I've been led to believe that since such consideration is valuable in a spiritual way. God knows where I got that. Well, of course, God knows. I'm just not sure. But try as I might, I'm not adroit at such thoughts. It seems to me that I have always been alive. I have no personal recollections of when most of North America was covered with ice, or of the Bronze Age, or the French Revolution, or the Black Sox scandal. But I do know all about that through things I've read and musicals I've seen and the History Channel. I know intellectually that I've not always been alive, but I don't know it, as they say, in my gut. What a strange phrase that is, since I am sure my gut is a totally dark part of my body, awash with digestive fluids and whatever remains of the chicken and peas I had for dinner, and strange compounds moving inexorably, I hope, through my large and small intestines. My problem is I have no emotional connection to finitude. All I know and feel is tangled up with being alive. Dwelling on the certainty of my own death is beyond my ken, outside my imagination, much like trying to imagine the vast expanse of space when I live in Connecticut. So whenever someone suggests that I consider my mortality, I'll screw my face up and breathe deeply, pretending I am imagining the world without me alive in it. But what I'm actually doing is remembering things I seldom remember. My father's smell, an old lover's face, the feel of sand beneath my feet, the taste of watermelon, the sound of thunder rolling toward me from miles away. Perhaps when I come to die, perish the thought. There will be a moment, an instant, some flash of knowledge or a stunning realization. Ah, I will say to myself, just before oblivion shuts in, this is finitude. I'm Jim Bradley. I'm glad to have been with you. I hope you enjoyed some of the readings. And I invite you to look online for my blog under the Castor Oil Tree at blogger.com.org something. Just do Castor under the Castor Oil Tree and I'll send you there. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. Be well, stay well, wash your hands, wear a mask, social distance. Love you.